Well, so we want to do the discussions on AM Talk. Now, particularly, radio has been on for several decades, but particularly also community radio stations in our part of the world have become the main avenue for people to get a lot more information. Well, information on all subjects. And on World Radio Day today, the question that we want to ask ourselves is, how is radio, particularly also community radio, being used to deepen democracy in our country? We want to start the discussions on the subject. We have in the studio Kwesi Gatitego. He's a chairperson for the Ghana Community Radio Network, and we're pleased to have you, sir.
Thank you.
The Ghana Community Radio Network, tell us a bit of history. When did it all begin?
Okay, actually the Ghana Community Radio Network, you can just get the acronym GCRN, actually began in December 1999. So we've been around, I think we're in our 15th year, and it's made up of community radios across the country. At the moment, in terms of our membership, we have 12 on-air stations, and then we also have about 12 to 50 initiatives who are still awaiting frequencies. So since 1999, we've actually been sharing ideas. We've been working together on different aspects of themes which actually concerns our society and things like that. So far, in terms of history, that's it.
How is the community radio network system or initiative different from the regular commercial radio that we have around?
Okay, let me say this. You know, the NCA, in terms of categorization, I mean, we have the public radio, which is a state broadcaster. We have the commercial. This time we have a campus and then community, which means that we are a bit all different, but I think that we complement each other. Community radio is different because, one, we are non-profit, and also it's mainly to give voice to the voiceless. The way of doing things is a bit different in the sense that we engage communities and we allow communities to actually develop the ideas for programming. And the communities themselves use their own voice, the authentic voices, in expressing their concerns and their values. So that's what it is. Yes.
And since you're non-profit, how do you then generate some revenue for yourselves, especially when you have content that you need to give to the segment of the market that you operate?
Let's say this, that at the moment, as I mentioned, we have 12 on-air stations, and each station is unique in itself. So they operate as independent radio stations, and therefore they have their own systems of generating their own income. But then we actually work together in the sense that we rely more on donor funding, and we come together, build ideas, and put together bids or proposals. And when we win the bid, depending on what we stated to do within the proposal, each station is allocated his funding to do the work. So let me say that apart from the internal generated resources from individual stations, the network itself also rely on some membership dues and also on donor funding.
With the over 15 years or less, over 14 years that you've been in existence, what has been some of the prevalent challenges that you've noticed usually have become hindrance to the progress of the various community radio stations we have?
Yeah, challenges. Okay, first let me say this. We wish that we had more frequencies because we have a number of initiatives, and we thought that by now community radio would have grown in number to do the kind of work we're doing. In fact, we are complementing local governments in whatever they do because, for instance, we've worked on projects like community participation in local governance. We worked on climate change. For instance, a recent project we did had to do with climate change and how it is affecting the livelihoods of communities, that's rural communities. And the results, or let's say the research findings, are kind of mind-boggling, how people's lives have changed. And we thought that in a situation like this, trying to complement local government efforts.
You would wish that you had a lot more frequency.
Exactly.
Is it that the frequency allocation is fraught with some problems or bureaucracy? Because in a normal circumstance, since you're known for profit, you should be getting a lot more frequency.
Well, logically, that's what it should be. So I don't know what is really happening with the NCA, because we had the situation where we're promised that some initiatives were going to have their frequencies, and they were made to do certain things. For instance, the NCA wanted to know whether those initiatives were truly community radio. So communities, stakeholders in the communities had to actually give an undertaking that they are going to own the radio and all that. That was done, but no positive result came out of it. I'm not sure if you're aware that one of the Press Freedom Days, these initiatives actually went on demonstration and marched through the streets of Accra and ended up at the press house, to actually express their, I don't want to use the word disgust, but in terms of disappointment in the frequencies not being allocated. We really do not know what is happening with NCA, yeah.
And that's a difficulty for you?
It's a difficulty.
Okay, so in the areas that you're operating in, how have you become part and parcel of not only giving information to the population there, but strengthening their capacity to be a lot more aware than usually they would have been?
Yeah, I mean, the use of given information is more like dissemination. Community radio, even though we do disseminate some information, most of the time we actually work with communities. Let me give you an example. For instance, when we worked on, let's say, climate change, I mean, we have to go into the communities, sit with community members, work with them through focus group discussions, and do personal discussions to find out what their situations are. Because, in the rural communities, the challenge there is women, are not given the opportunity to express themselves, especially when you have the men around. So having focus group discussions actually gives them the freedom to talk and express themselves. And it is through that we are able to synthesize the issues that come out of it, and then we build on themes and then develop programs out of the discussions that came out of the community. And at the end of the day, the community members themselves begin to develop the programs. We just finished a project with PIWA, that is Pan-African Institute of West Africa, where the emphasis was on women farmers, and to see how they are actually coping with life and all that. So at the end of the project, you realize that so much capacity has been built among women especially, that now they're able to discuss their issues in public. When I say public, I mean a public forum. They're able to engage government officials, they're able to engage the duty bearers, and demand what they think that is due to them. And I think that capacity is actually helped our community women.
In building such capacity, how do you think that has revolutionized the way minority groupings in rural communities especially tend to think and participate in decision making at the local government level? Yeah,
during the last election, for instance, we tried to put emphasis on women participation, not to encourage women, even at the local level, to vie for assembly membership and all that. And now more women, are able to at least even contribute to national discourse, And I think that in building that capacity alone, gives the impression that now people are beginning to appreciate what is happening around them. they're able to, even economics, which they might not understand at the, let's say, national level, they're able to contribute towards it because of what they are seeing on the ground. And they think that whatever is happening out there could eventually affect them. And therefore, they also, the voice is what is important.
If there are serious national issues, how, as community radio stations, do you integrate that in your programming? Let's say there are issues on budgets, perhaps that has not been read yet, will be read in the next a few days. There's an independence celebration that will be coming up. How do you do the proper retrospection?
Yeah, okay, for example, you talked about the budget. Fortunately, since 1992, the number of radio stations have really increased. I think that now we have about 237 radio stations, or something like that. And I think that the language usage has really helped a lot. Today, it's not only English. Before we had only GBC1, and GBC1 was just kind of a one-way kind of radio. Today, the issues are brought up. Community members are, encouraged to participate in the discussions. Whether they understand what is happening or not, today we have people, trained journalists, trained financial people, who can explain the issues in the language that the people speak and think. And when the explanation is given, that they are then able to actually understand what the issues are, and then they're able to also engage in such discussions.
And so far, you think these have been fruitful in deepening democracy at the local level?
Oh, yes. I mentioned before that we did something we call the community participation in local governance, where communities were engaged to discuss their own issues. It was realized that it looks like the district assembly concept did not really factor in the other local governance. When I say local, I mean the traditional systems of governance. So conflicts with assemblymen and chiefs and all that, through all these discussions, and engaging communities, there's been that kind of understanding and distribution of roles, and they are now able to even participate in assembly discussions and things like that. And communities have been able to demand, for example, washed out bridges. They've been able to demand from the assembly, and they are getting their due. Farmers are able to now engage duty bearers. They're able to get some concessions on farming tools and tractors and so on, which before probably they wouldn't know where to go to seek redress.
In creating that level of awareness at the community level, how do you make sure that, when they do, that very appeals to the duty bearers? In communities, we can have the various district assemblies or the various regional coordinating agencies, and those who work in the various local government offices, to make sure that whatever concerns that have been raised by the communities are quickly addressed, so to speak, not because they just hear and so we'll be dilly-dallying on the subject.
Yeah, actually, what we've been able to do is that sometimes when we engage communities, we first go into the community, that's community entry, and then we deal with some of the issues. Some of the issues that come out, as I discussed before, through the focus group discussions and so on, we are able to go back into the community, this time with some duty bearers. We've been fortunate enough, we've had some MPs accompanying us, some district chief executives accompanying us, and some local government officials. And within a forum, within communities, they're able to address some of these issues. So sometimes it's not just going to the assembly to address these issues. The assembly officials are able to go into the communities to at least engage these community members in this issue.
Now, we know that your modus operandi is different, and your objectives usually are different than the normal commercial radio that we have around. And we have on the phone Dora Mauto. She's a media relations officer for the Media Foundation for West Africa. Very good morning to you, Dora. Now, particularly today, as we're marking World Radio Day, what usually in your outfit have you noticed are the shortfalls, especially when the main objective has been to deepen community interaction with those that are supposed to be responsible to whether provide them with amenities or serve their needs?
Okay, good morning to you, good morning to your viewers, and thanks for having me. First of all, the Media Foundation would like to commend all radio stations in Ghana today that we are celebrating radio the world over. To speak directly to the question you put, there have been development and the shortfalls. So first of all, we commend the radio station for helping deepen our democracy, creating platforms for the ordinary citizens to be able to engage these values. But then, like you said, there are shortfalls here and there. First of all, I think as of now, we do not really have lots of programs on radio that directly engage or bring together youth bearers and the citizenry, so that the citizenry can put across their issues, their problems directly to the duty bearers in studio for them to respond to. So I think going forward, we may need to have more of such programs, apart from morning shows that sometimes engage some of these people. We need institutionalized programs that allow people to engage duty bearers, share their problems, and also contribute to the governance process.
Now, if particularly you are worried about perhaps content and the need to generate a lot more content, how do you make sure that you do the collaboration right to also get the type of content that you would need to be targeted at various sections of the population as we have them in Ghana?
Okay, I think that there should be lots of collaboration between the radio stations and the MMPs, as like the Metropolitan Municipal District Assembly. It's one thing having a program or a institutionalized program, and then it's one thing the assembly people agreeing to be on that program. So we've been trying as much as possible to liaise and bring the two groups together. You know, institutionalizing a program comes with cost. And having the assembly people also there comes with commitment. So we are trying to facilitate that process such that the assembly will understand that being on the radio station, some way, somehow, it's not so much of doing a favor, but rather engaging the people that you are serving, letting them know what you are doing, so that the people can appreciate what you are doing and then your challenges, and possibly contribute whichever way that they can to the process. So that the radio stations also get to have that content, you know, so that especially after morning programs, after news bulletins, the rest of radio is not left to music. But then we have that content that will contribute to development, that will make meaningful impact, that will make radio relevant to the ordinary people. So as much as possible, we are trying to facilitate the process by bringing the two groups together. And then we can only hope and count on their collaboration at any particular point in time. That the radio stations know that it's service to community. We are informing people, we are helping in development. So that if we don't even have the funds to support them, instead of having radio, music, they can appreciate the need to have such programs and make it their contribution to society, even if we are not able to support them financially.
Now, I want you to just be on the line for me.
Okay.
Mr. Gatitego, now particularly when we have a lot more commercial radio stations and your objective is community radio, how does that, one, conflict, two, the the financial aspects, even though your objectives are different, how does that also tend to perhaps sway the audiences that you would want to attract to the other side?
You mean to...
In terms of how does it influence who listens to you or who does not?
That's right. I mean, you know, the challenge is huge because the commercial stations actually hit the airwaves so hard. So wherever community radios are situated, you also can tune into commercial radio stations. And this time, most commercial radio stations are also broadcasting in the local languages. But you see, the difference is that because community radio actually engages with communities, and that kind of engagement makes them own the programs that are aired. So it's their voices. So they are likely to tune in to listen to what they have to say about their own livelihoods, and also tune in to want to listen to what other communities are trying to do. Let's say if you're talking about farming, for instance, the methods that these farmers are using. Sometimes it's not the bookish farming methods, but some tried and tested methods by farmers, which can be shared with others. So in that sense, using their own authentic voice, their own languages, in its various dialects, you know, it encourages them to listen. So we do have that niche in terms of listenership. Yeah.
At the Media Foundation for West Africa, Dora, are you worried that perhaps we have a lot more emergence of commercial radio? As a result of that, those that have the objectives of getting to the communities perhaps do not get the space and the attention that they will need?
Not necessarily having a problem with the commercial stations, especially as they also like to inform, educate, and entertain. Possibly, of course, we don't have so many community radio stations, and people are more likely to want to listen to the commercial stations, especially the rural areas, stations that have affiliates with radio stations in the capital and other capital cities. And so that problem is there. But then, the two groups, as in community radios and then commercial radios, both exist to serve the society or the community. So both places should have more programs that help the community, that have the interest of the community at heart, that helps the development of the community, that seeks to address the peculiar needs in the community. Of course, the commercial stations are there for commercial purposes. And then the community radio stations are there to help develop the community the better way. The best way for community radios to keep up with this competition is to have more interesting programs that respond directly to the specific needs of the communities in which they exist. That is the way to keep people interested in community radios. And then I think beyond that, the community radio stations should make more efforts to do follow-up and make efforts to ensure that problems and challenges that are put forth by the community people are solved or some way somehow responded to. When it happens like that, then people build that confidence in the community radio. They will prefer to listen to a station that helps them resolve their issues, their problems, more than listening to stations that probably are more entertaining, so to say. So I think going forward, that should be the same for except community radio stations. More programs addressing their needs, following up, and reporting back to the people, okay, you said you have ABC issues. We have these responses for you. This is how far the duty bearers have gone in attending to your issues. So that the people actually feel that they are part of the station and the station is helping them solve their problems. I think that's how.
Because Mr. Tego is a chairperson for Ghana Community Radio Network, and as he's helping us with the discussions, he wanted to make a contribution to
I wanted to make a contribution. She's rightly said. I mean, in terms of follow-ups and so on, that is rarely done with community radio. But you see, the thing is this: that we believe that communities must be encouraged, to carry their own issues and demand what they do. For instance, that's why I said that, when we get these issues with communities, we allow communities themselves to engage with duty bearers. It would not be my duty to say that, look, you gave me this issue ABC, I've gone to see the district chief executive or the local government, and local government says, look, I'm going to help you with ABC. But what we are saying is that the issues, we are guiding you through because you are mostly affected or more affected by the issue. So you carry on with that issue. Let the duty bearers understand you in your own language so that they can then address your issues, So in terms of our engagement, the radio is there to give them that voice, so that they can engage. And I would know what your issues are, but you will be able to express it better. So that kind of interaction is there. And I like the three-pronged ideas that you brought, in terms of follow-up and then all that kind of stuff. It's good, and I'm saying that we try to do it. But it's a long way ahead, but small.
And Dora, how do we make them more vibrant and relevant, especially in the current milieu of the emergence or the multiplicity of very much commercial radio stations, and which have the resources to be very much diverse and innovative in their programming, and also provide a wide range of content?
Okay, you see, first of all, I just want to say one or two things about what he said. In as much as the platform is created for people to engage duty bearers, it has to go beyond that. Because if the ordinary person has an issue, it will be very difficult for the person to go to the assembly and get the DC or MC or any assembly official to respond to any problem he or she might have. And it's really difficult for that same person to go follow up 2-3 times to get the issue resolved. But then, but radio has power. And once the radio station steps in to do that kind of follow-up, it helps. It's good they've created that dialogue, that platform for the duty bearer and the citizen to engage. And then all I'm saying is that beyond that platform, the radio stations must take that make that extra effort to get the duty bearers to respond to the community needs. Now, addressing the question you just posed, yes, community radio stations are not commercially viable. They don't have the resources, they don't have the funds. But then I believe that with more education, people will get to appreciate the need for community radio stations, the fact that the radio stations exist for their own development, and the need for them to get on board and help the radio to develop so that together their problems can be solved. I think if people begin to understand and appreciate it that way, then they are more likely to listen in, help shape programming, content, help make contribution as to what is going right, what is going wrong, what can be improved, so that together with the community, the radio station develops and responds to their needs. But it happens that the people do not really see the need, the essence, the benefit of having a community radio. They might as well forget about it and just listen to any of those commercial radio stations. So I think more education and sensitization needs to be done to get people to appreciate the concept of community radio.
So you say that they have contributed significantly to deepen grassroots participation and thereby ultimately democracy at the grassroots level?
Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. We have had on the phone the Media Relations Officer of the Media Foundation for West Africa, Dora Malto. Thanks, Dora, for your contribution this morning. Now, if we would have to look at the wider picture, if you look at perhaps case studies in Bangladesh, some other countries in Asia, etc., which have the same development patterns like us because they are lower middle income or, so to speak, low income earning countries, etc., their community radio station models necessarily are not too good because they're struggling. Is it the same problems we're facing here as well?
Yeah, we are struggling.
Just because of the environment?
Yeah, yes. I mean, we are struggling because, as you rightly said, we are not as... we do not have the resources as commercial radios do, and therefore we are always kind of, relying on donor funding to be able to carry out some project. And I must say that Media Foundation for West Africa has also been very helpful to some community radio stations in developing real content, in terms of women's rights and women's welfare and so on. So it's great. But you see, the thing is this, community radio, it looks like, by its name, should have actually evolved from communities. Communities should have actually recognized a certain need and therefore say, look, we need this to be able to address our issues through it and develop. But community radios in Ghana, haven't started the way like South Africa, some radio stations in South Africa have started. They've actually been initiated by individuals. And that makes the challenge quite real because now you have to really sell the idea to the community so the community would then come into the fold and begin to accept it.
To have a buy-in, so to speak.
Yes, that's it. But now, because, as you mentioned, but commercial radios, came up before. So when they listen to it and they come to community radio, you have initiated it. You want them to come on board. They are making all that comparison until, as my colleague from Media Foundation said, you begin to sell the idea and make them part of the whole process.
How instrumental can the state be? Because if we say the state, not necessarily government, because we have state institutions, we have a governmental institution like the Ministry, the Ministry of Information. We also have the Information Service in itself. And we have some relevant agencies like, let's say, the GJ and etc. How can they be instrumental in making sure that community radios are firmly grounded in communities?
Yeah, I guess that, if you take DJ and all the others, they
all
have
the affiliate bodies that we have.
They have their codes, you understand. But the question, I love the question because other state institutions can really help out. As I mentioned before, we're only complementing the efforts of local government. And I believe that government sets out an agenda. The agenda that it gives to local government is to try and help communities develop. So I would really think that government could factor community radio into their bigger frame of work, so such that if the local government is trying to, say, develop child education or any other project, community radios are factored into it. Some money is made available to at least, kind of realize that objective. So it's kind of like sublet some of the work of the assemblies, allow the community radios go into the community.
So invariably you're calling for close partnerships.
Exactly.
From the very onset. Let's say at the beginning of the fiscal period, then all these engagements at the policy level is even spelled out. You will even be complementing the role of the information services department.
Yeah.
Now, if we would have to look at it from that very direction, perhaps then a lot more reaching out needs to be made. Not necessarily from the part of the state, but also your part. You reach out to a lot more than make the appeal. and do the proper lobbying.
That's true. In fact, that's one thing we're lacking. I don't think we've advertised ourselves enough for people to understand what we are doing, we're really doing. You know, so for instance, even if you go to Western Region, which today we do not have any known community radio station as registered with the Ghana Community Radio Network. We have this oil find and so on, you know, in terms of environmental issues and all that. Community radio can play a major role there, such that you can say that probably all these oil industries and all that could liaise with community radio, so that they can engage communities and communities begin to appreciate what is happening. And whatever discourse there is, the people begin to own the ideas and to try to correct the environment with the assistance. So you can get that support directly from there. But as I say, we also need to reach out better. We need to make ourselves well known. People should understand exactly what we're trying to do. And probably when they do understand, they'll be able to complement whatever we do or assist in very positive ways. That I do.
And in going forward, if we have to look at the current state of the way the operation is done in itself, you will be facing huge problems, especially when you don't have the needed funding. How do you get access to funding?
I talked about it before in terms of, if you look at the community radio generally, that is Ghana Community Radio Network, I mentioned before that we rely solely on...
not necessarily the network, I mean the...
individual radio stations.
Yes, because they tend to be pulled together to create the needed synergies that you need for your network.
Yeah, you know, that's true. Every radio station is unique on its own. If I should zero in on my radio station, that is Radio Peace in Winnipeg, for instance, I mean, we've had a lot of support from the community. In fact, at one time we had issues with electricity issues. We had community members coming in to support.
You mean what? By you couldn't afford your bills?
Not
was it
really
connectivity?
Not really connectivity, but you know, we had this issue of
fluctuation,
doomso. You know, where the lights go off and on and so on. The communities actually thought it was a situation they must come in to help, you know, with some generator and other things, you know, and other radio stations too have benefited from such things from their communities. And sometimes, you know, communities contribute money, contribute all other sorts to help the station actually stand on its 2 feet. So it's been tough though, but if you think that, for example, Radio Ada and Radio Peace or Radio Progress, we're still around after 15, 16 years, then we've done something right.
Yes, and in particular, talking about Radio Ada, I've been there a couple of times and witnessed the job being done by, is it a professor?
Yeah, Professor Kwame.
He's still around?
He's still around, very active.
If you read about community radio networks around the world, and even in the US they still exist, in Canada, in Nepal, Bolivia, etc., even in Hungary, they tend to target certain minority groups, known communities. How can we do that in the current environment we have?
Yeah, you see, I mean, those community radios, we have our own definition of community. You can have all sorts of communities. I mean, we could even have communities of gentlemen who wear ties and things like that, communities who drive posh cars, or communities of lawyers, communities. But what we are saying is that we are using community in the sense that we are developing radio that will bring about development among rural people. And we are looking at geography. So we are talking about, let's say, a community radio will have its own demarcation to work in. Radio Peace, for instance, or Radio Ada will not want to go beyond a certain range, because then you'll be dealing with too many people at a time that you might not be able to cope. So our definition of community is that geographical area and dealing with rural poor, the marginalized within communities, and trying to bring about development within their own livelihoods and things like that. So on that, you know, we try to engage them to do their own thing to bring about development. Yeah.
Usually when political party activity is deepening, because that is at the core of the dispensation we're practicing democratically, how active do you become?
Very, very active. I remember the last election, for instance, I mean, we had support from Star Ghana, to see to it that community members adhere to all rules and regulations, and to make sure that women participation go higher and things like that. So in that, our role mainly with that was to engage communities, to understand the issues and try to own the issues, and then probably carry things along. And I think that it helped. On some occasions, even getting to polling stations become an issue. They didn't even know that the voter ID cards had numbers on them that could easily direct them to some polling stations. So community radio was used to do that, so that community members were able to at least reach their polling stations on time.
Have we, overall, created the needed consensus on which perhaps as community radio you can always leapfrog on and say, well, these are the precedents or the achievements that have been chalked so far, and so you can use that to leapfrog and to the next level? One, getting acceptance, getting the needed recognition, getting the right sources of funding.
Yeah, I think that's actual recognition we have, because once you are registered and recognized as limited by guarantee by government or by the state registrar, then you know that you have that recognition. But I must also say that today, if you go to the National Communications Authority and you look at their guidelines in terms of community radio, that was drawn up together with the community radio with National Communications Authority. So their guidelines for establishing community radio was actually drawn up with the NCA, drawn up by NCA and Community Radio Network. So at least that's a step forward. And we've also contributed a great deal into the broadcasting bill, which is now being discussed and all that. And as I talk now, we are looking at even a whole new content regulation from the NMC, National Media Commission, which they've asked us to take a look at and make some suggestions to it and so on. So I guess that with that alone, some recognition has been established.
And in going forward, how do we make sure you strike the right chords with the relevant institutions in the society to make sure progressively the type of assistance you need would always be extended to you?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, some local government, for instance, must understand that we're only there to complement their efforts, because there are times that, when you engage communities and communities become aware of a lot of things, some local governments think that, you're giving them hard time, because now people are becoming aware, people are asking questions, people are demanding things, so they think that, no, you have given us too much hard time. But they just have to understand that, we're all here to develop our nation. There's no other but Ghana.
And so you would need the communities in their interaction to be asking the right questions, and ultimately they get to the right questions. Then it means that you also have to reach to the duty bearers and perhaps deepen the understanding and the whole concept.
Exactly. I do agree with you. We need to reach out better. We need to make them understand our role better. And probably, I guess, that consistent engagement, probably could still give us further recognition in terms of what our real role is. And probably that could help us move forward.
Okay, please get interactive. We have a short code 1760. Please visit the page Joynews on TV and share with us if you have a community radio, not necessarily the normal FM stations we have, because the community radio stations, they reach deeper into the communities. They get to have their own segment, or they are listened to usually not on commercial basis, so you don't have you don't get to listen to a lot more of those jingles, etc. adverts on products and services most of the time, usually for public services. Share your experiences with us, and well, tell us what you think has been good so far about the community radio station in your area, and what you've learned just as lessons over the years since that very station has been in existence. Mama V, of course, is on one of those platforms on the multimedia network, and so I'm sure she'll be in one of the studios of one of the stations. Could be Joy FM, could be Adom, etc. She will be on stream very soon. Would want to interact with her, get to have the views, especially as we're marking the World Radio Day today, what the various stakeholders think about it.
Radio Day today, and we're celebrating the day. I'm actually in the multimedia radio building. We've crossed the road. We want to see what our brothers in the radio session are doing. After all, it's their day today. So this is Hit 103.9 FM, and I'm going in to speak to the presenter of the morning show. It's the Daybreak Hits. That's the morning show on Hits 103.9 FM, and their presenter is Black Eye. And I am right about now walking in. Okay, so here we are at the Hits FM studio. And here's the morning show presenter. Good morning to you, Black Eye.
Hello, Mama V. How are you doing?
Very well, thank you. And it's World Radio Day today, so happy World Radio Day. It's your day.
Yeah, it is our day, Mama V. And I feel so happy. This morning when I woke up and I was watching BBC, I saw World Radio Day. I said, yeah, today is our day. So I'm taking this day as a special day because I've been in radio since 2004. So we say 10 years now.
Wow, congratulations. Yeah. But where do you see radio in the next decade?
Big. 10 years back, should I say, or even if there was, the competition was small. 10 years down the lane, the competition has become very big. And 10 years from now, it's going to be keener. And it's going to be more enjoying and more rewarding.
Okay. All right, Black Eye, thank you so much. And go ahead. We know that you hardly interrupt more. Wish you all the best. Have a good day. Okay, so we're moving from the Hits. Have a good day. Okay, so we're moving from the Hits. We're moving from the Hits studio into a sister station, which is Adom 106.3 FM. If you'll just come with me, we're going into the Adom studios to talk to the morning show team as well. But we have to be very careful because Adom morning shows are always talking, and it's okay.
This is a bomb.
Please, are you on air? Okay.
This is a bomb.
Okay. So.
La ilaha illallah bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Bonia Mahama here, and so I pointed with say, but one no yet, Juman Sum Ghana. Bonia Mahama, or yeah, no. Advance want to be a fat away. Bufusem Keke.
Missy, my kids cannot get enough of bar time. No?
Okay, so we're in the Adom 106.3 FM studio. We caught a bit of the action there. The host of the morning show, Captain Smart, giving it to someone like they do all the time. Good morning, happy Radio Day today.
Good morning and thank you, my sister.
You seem to be very angry.
Yes, I am. I'm very, very, very angry. Angry for Mother Ghana, not angry for myself.
But congratulations, radio is doing such a great job. How do you think radio impacts on the development in general of our country?
I would say in Ghana particularly, we failed. Radio has failed the people of this country.
Why do you say so?
Yes. We do, with all respect, a lot of nonsense on radio. Instead of using radio to pursue productive angles. What do we hear in our country? NDC, MPP, when you wear blue, white, and red on radio, even a panel member or a host will even point to you that, hey, and then we MPP. If you have the other colors, the red, the black, the green, then another hand is pointed at you as NDC member. Instead of us to use the radio to pursue socio-political issues for the betterment of the ordinary Ghanaian, we fail to do that. And we do unnecessary, unproductive politics on radio. I think we failed.
What's the way forward then?
We should stop doing that nonsense and pursue something profitable, developmental issues that will benefit the ordinary.
I guess that's what you're doing on Adom.
Fantastic. That's what we do here.
All right. Go ahead and do the good job. Thank you and congratulations. Enjoy this day. Okay. If you watch, and I call it Wapampa, but I mean, it's not an insult. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
What do you think about this day?
I think it's a day for us all in the profession to sit and reflect. Let's pause and find out what we've been doing, whether it has been profitable so far. And I think that is what we should do today.
What exact role do you play as part of the morning show team at Adom FM?
I help in the newspaper review segment. Yeah, that is what I do. And then I do also help in production.
All right. Enjoy this day. All right. So we've just come to Adom 106.3 FM, and we're heading right now to Asempa FM. That's also right here in the same building. So if you would come with me, and we'll do it. And remember, once we get into the studios, it has to be very quick, and we have to make sure that the presenter is not talking. In other words, it's not emotion. So let's see. Join me. Okay, no. This presenter is talking. The microphone is on, and so we cannot speak to him, but we'll try and speak to the program's director of Asempa FM right here, because he's also into radio. And if you would come with me now, Sami Yurinchi is the program's director here. We're still in the Asempa FM studio. This is actually the production office, and the boss himself is here. Hello, good morning. So all the people you see here are producers as well. There's a show ongoing, and that's why they're all here. Good morning to you. Happy Radio Day today.
Thanks, and many happy returns. We pray to get more of such seasons and times.
Tell us exactly the focus of Asempa FM.
Asempa FM works on three main pillars: sports, current affairs, and social issues. So mainly we do sports many parts of the day, in the morning for 4 hours, later in the afternoon, and then social will come in. Then we'll do politics or current affairs in the between 2 and 6:30 in the afternoon. And so that's what we do.
How do you think what you do here is impacting on development in general in the country?
Well, we deal with development communication mostly. I mean, everything we do, we believe it is not just our responsibility as communicators, but it's our right to ensure that we touch on issues and make sure we hold our leadership accountable to whatever we've given them. So accountability and ensuring that integrity-wise, we build community and we also give value to advertisers. So we create content. We don't say we are a radio station. We are content creators. So we create content and ensure that we sell the audience who listen to us to advertisers, so they get value for whatever they're doing.
Thank you for talking to us. Okay, so that's it. If you can see through here. You can see through here. Just a little peep to see the presenter hosting his program. All right, so we're done with Asempa FM. Now we go to Joy 99.7 FM. And this is the way to the Joy studio. If you'd come with me, we'll talk to the Super Morning Show team right here at Joy FM. And it's just about 8, so the business news is being read. We'll see how we can talk to the host then. This is the production studio here at Joy FM. And this is the chief producer of the Super Morning Show, Sedamofori. Good morning. Can we talk to your presenter?
Yes, you may. So what I'll have to do is to go in there and get him to come out so you can speak to him.
All right. So, yeah, that will be fine. Fantastic. Thank you so much. So we're waiting to speak to the host of the Super Morning Show on Joy 99.7. We cannot go there now because there's a live news bulletin being read and we cannot be talking at the same time. But we'll speak to the presenter of the Super Morning Show, Bernard Nasara Saibu. Just a few words and then we'll let you see in on the action what's going on as we celebrate World Radio Day today. But don't forget, you're still watching the AM show and we are live on the Joynews channel on your multi-TV. We're holding on to quickly speak to Bernard Nasara Saibu, who is the presenter of Super Morning Show on Joy 99.7. Okay, so we'll just surprise him quickly. We're live. What do you think about this day, World Radio Day?
Okay, well, World Radio Day, I think it's an important day.
Well, so we've lost Mamavi there. I guess, technology always tripping sometimes, as the Americans will say, tripping. But in the meantime, though, when we have to look at how radio can contribute, what is the way forward for the future?
You mean for radio generally?
No, for community radio. I'm more very sympathetic towards your cause.
Yeah, I guess the way forward for us is, to be able to get more community radio stations on board. We need to have National Communications Authority at least issuing more frequencies to initiatives, community radio initiatives. It has become necessary actually for Ghana Community Radio Network together with other partners to form a pressure group known as Quota, just to make sure that frequencies are released for that. For us, that will be a positive way forward, to have more on board and to be able to, serve Ghana better.
Radio is always penetrative, even though we have mediums like TV.
That's right. That's right.
Now the emergence of the internet, which has made broadcasting very easy. Mm-hmm. How then do you take advantage of such innovations and technology?
Yeah, I mean, we are dealing more with rural folks, but it doesn't mean that we cannot.
I get your point.
Yeah, but radio is cheap, really. When I say cheap, not in terms of quality, but in terms of pricing. Today, you can have pens which are radio, mobile phones are now spread across. We have radio on them and all that. And I think that for us to be able to serve our communities better, it is for us to also engage with, new technologies and things like that. So we are really into websites and we are into other new technologies just to help us, be able to serve our communities better.
Okay, so what are the prospects generally for radio in Ghana?
Positive. Very, very positive. I listened to Captain Smart and he thought that we have failed, but I don't think we have. Radio has actually now given us that kind of freedom to say whatever. Today, we are thinking that it's NDC, NPP, but that is the way we are expressing the way we want to feel. A time will come, we'll pass this phase. And when we've passed this phase, then we'll be getting into rather more pertinent issues that really affect us. Today, we think that party politics can do that. But as we go on, we'll find that we're actually deceiving ourselves. But it's a growing process. It's a growing process. And I think that we're doing well. And radio, for me, has gone a long way, or has come a long way, to help us all. And I think that we should encourage the usage towards more developmental issues. But let's accept what is happening now and take it in good faith, and that will develop along that line.
Well, thank you very much for joining us for the morning. We have had in the studio Kwesi Gatitego, the chairperson for the Ghana Community Radio Network, and they have a lot more members, affiliate members, and they would want a lot more to join them. So it means that any entrepreneur who wants to invest in this community radio station, that would be nice. I mean, just to broaden the discussions and make sure there's direct participation in decision making, and making sure the duty bearers, so to speak, those who are appointed into authority to serve you and I, are really up to it when it comes to their responsibility. Well, that's what we have been discussing for the day. World Radio Day it is. We're marking today on the AM show, and that has been our main point of discussion on AM Talk. And next, we'll be looking at the making of chocolate in the second part. We began the first part on Wednesday, and especially tomorrow is the National Chocolate Day, and it is marked every 14th of February, just in parts, because Valentine's Day is marked on the same day, just to create the awareness about how chocolate is important and the consumption of cocoa derivatives are also crucial. Next, how chocolate is in part made, part 2.